Hi, I'm Abby and I'm 31. At 25, I started a small app development company. Before that, I worked in the IT sector. That company wasn't big, and it was a time when new companies were popping up everywhere. When my previous company started struggling, I took a leap of faith and quit. I then founded a mobile game development company. My husband Mikey is the same age as me and was a colleague at my former job. Several people quit around the same time as I did, but Mikey chose to stay. He didn't like the idea of me starting a business at all. You see, Mikey's not the adventurous type, nor is he keen on trying new things. He always seeks stability. He doesn't have much ambition at work and isn't interested in promotions. For Mikey, a simple life is enough. He's not into materialistic things, nor does he have any particular hobbies. In contrast, I'm the complete opposite. I strive to achieve in my work and love to face new challenges. Shopping is a treat, and I cherish attending concerts of my favorite artists. At first glance, we might seem incompatible, but that's not the case. We complement each other, filling the gaps the other has. I'd say we're pretty compatible. Our love story began at the workplace, and we tied the knot 2 years ago. 6 months back, we bought our dream single-family home. We didn't want to compromise, so it's a white-themed house that we're very particular about. Since we both love kids, we've set up a kid's room for our future child. Every day, we carefully clean our wood-scented space, cherishing each moment. Lately, since moving to our new home, Mikey's been saying,
I really want kids soon. If you keep working non-stop, Abby, you'll be left behind. Everyone on social media has kids, don't they? You see that, right? Our parents are also pressuring us. Maybe it's time you take a step back from work.
This was my biggest fear. Mikey's income has significantly decreased. The company he works for is underperforming, with many employees quitting. Now, including Mikey, only 3 remain. And they're often working remotely, which means hardly working. This month, he's hardly been to work. Before I realized it, his pay resembled that of a part-time job. We have a mortgage to pay, and we can't live on Mikey's income alone. Discussing our financial situation directly is a delicate matter, so I've been avoiding it. Mikey realizes his income has dropped, but he shies away from the idea of finding a new job. I carefully chose my words as I responded. Well, kids, I'm not getting any younger, but right now I really want to focus on my work and save some more money. When I do have a child, I want to prioritize them, I just haven't found someone I can trust fully when I'm away. So please bear with me a little longer. I promise I'm thinking about it. As I said this, Mikey looked displeased.
You know my mom keeps going on about wanting a grandkid, right? You have to think about my pride too. She's been so pushy that I even told her that you have a medical condition that makes it hard to conceive, just to make her understand.
I was aware of that. Every time my mother-in-law saw me, she'd say, Abby, work is good and all, but a woman's role is also to have children. No matter how successful you are, if you don't have a child, you're incomplete. You should embrace your femininity soon. I couldn't possibly agree with such a sentiment. But my mother-in-law is stubborn and traditional. There was no way Mikey, a mama's boy, would ever stand up to her on my behalf. Being tired from work, I tried to avoid her as much as possible. Every encounter would inevitably lead to the topic of kids. She probably doesn't know about our financial situation. Considering the current economy, it's hard to even think about having a child. Then one Sunday, as we were enjoying our day off, the video doorbell rang. The monitor displayed my mother-in-law. Though I wanted to pretend we weren't home, our car was in the driveway, so we couldn't. Mikey opened the door and let her in. Without missing a beat, she threw a snide remark at me. "You've embarrassed me, Abby." Naturally, I had no clue what she was talking about. "I ran into an old friend from my school days. She has 3 grandkids from a son who's a year younger than Mikey. She was showing off. I never imagined I'd face such humiliation at this age. This is what you get for having a clueless daughter-in-law." She directed her anger at me. "It's all because you won't give us a child. Don't you feel sorry for Mikey? Time's ticking and you need to plan for the future. You keep talking about work, but aren't games just for nerds? Anyone can do that, can't they?" Ignorance is truly terrifying. She had no idea about my efforts and achievements. I couldn't stay silent any longer. "Listen, mother-in-law, I think you need to realize how uninformed you sound. I get that you want a grandchild, and I'm genuinely sorry you feel this way. But when you belittle my career, I can't stay quiet. Not everyone can do what I do. Saying things like that about the games we pour our hearts into every day, well, it's hurtful." She smirked at me. "Why are you getting so defensive? What's more important to you, games or kids? If you tell me that a nerd's game is more important, I'd understand. But that would be a ridiculous thing to say, right?" As I kept trying to avoid conflict, things seemed to take a turn for the worse. My head started to throb. "Seriously, mother-in-law, you're so clueless. Comparing those things doesn't even make sense. They're completely different. I get your point, but from now on, this is a matter between a husband and wife. We'll come to a conclusion together." I thought my words might be a bit harsh, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. Even in this situation, Mikey stayed quiet and didn't come to my defense. Suddenly, with a flushed face, mother-in-law yelled at me, her breath hot and heavy. "You think I'm the bad one, don't you? Mikey's too kind to say anything, but don't you think a wife focusing more on her job than her husband could upset him? I really feel sorry for Mikey." "Excuse me?" "That's right. Maybe I should move in here. You have a nursery even though you're not having children. It's because you're infertile, right? So that room is just going to waste?" Before I could react to that shocking statement, Mikey chimed in with a sarcastic grin.
"Yeah, we don't plan on having kids. It might be more efficient if Mom lived here. We're both working, so the house is often empty. It would be better for security if someone's always home. I'm all for it."
I was taken aback by his statement. I always knew Mikey was a mama's boy, but I never expected him to go off the rails like this, without even considering my feelings. Annoyed, I retorted sarcastically to Mikey. "You're working from home these days, right? I think our security is just fine. If we need security, we'd hire professionals. We don't have any valuables that require high-end security anyway. Whose life are you talking about?" Mikey, visibly agitated, shouted back at me.
"That's how you always are, Abby. Looking down on everyone. Can't you see that attitude of yours drains my motivation? Your business success was just a fluke, right? If I had started a business at the time, I would have succeeded too. I could have earned more. Don't think you're the only competent one here."
My patience, already thin, snapped. He made it sound as if he was spouting some undeniable truth. However, I never once said I didn't want children. We just can't have them because we can't get by on just Mikey's earnings. I guess it's time for some real talk. I've kept silent to protect Mikey's reputation in front of mother-in-law. Take a look at this. Can you still say our decision not to have kids is due to my arrogance? With that, I pulled out our household budget and our paychecks. Mother-in-law stared at them with a devilish glare. Mikey looked visibly flustered. Being shown this after boasting must be tough. After all, his earnings are almost the same as a college student's part-time job. Affording a mortgage and supporting a family on this? No way. It would be impossible unless we moved abroad. I began to speak. As you can see, our financial situation depends on both of us working. I don't want our child to struggle or live in poverty. Right now, we just can't consider having a child. If we continue being married, it might never happen. Mikey responded anxiously.
I never told you to show Mama our earnings. Do you enjoy making me look bad?
Mother-in-law added, Oh, come on, earnings aren't everything. Mikey's gentle nature would make him a good father. Why don't you become the breadwinner? The absurdity gave me a headache. Sure, having a child would be fulfilling, but did you know there are mothers out there coping with stress by playing mobile games and doing their best? If you're going to throw judgments, so will I. A real man can support his family. Though, doing your best in whatever situation is what truly matters. We just don't see eye to eye. Mikey's anger finally exploded. He began to shout.
Abby, your high and mighty attitude is what's ruining me. It's like having a boss at home. Leave. I don't want to see your face anymore.
Mother-in-law jumped in. Exactly. You think you can say whatever you want? Fine. We don't need a woman like you. I'm going to get divorce papers. Mikey, divorce this insufferable woman. With that, they both headed to the city hall. I'm still puzzled why I should be the one to leave. But I don't want to be with Mikey anymore. I can't stand his face. Those are my feelings. I've reached my breaking point. I finally decided to move out. I quickly packed my belongings. I've never liked having many possessions anyway. I've always been someone who prefers an empty space. People usually call this minimalist. Packing, it was done in no time. Mikey and his mom came home, still in a foul mood. Without missing a beat, Mikey started filling out the divorce papers. Then he threw them at me.
I've done my part. If you're going to stop this, now is the time. Once these papers are submitted, there's no turning back. I'm so distressed I might not work for a while. But you can just give me the house as compensation. Lucky for you, I'm not a petty guy. You earn well, so it should be no big deal, right? But hey, if you apologize, maybe I'll forgive you.
Clearly, he wanted me to beg him to stay. I've never met such a small-minded man before. He's the worst of them all. Without any hesitation, I filled out the divorce papers as well. I wanted to see for myself when they were submitted, so I took charge of that. The next day, the divorce was finalized. People often say divorce is harder than marriage, but for me, it was surprisingly straightforward and liberating. Thinking about that beloved house now inhabited by my two least favorite people, it seems scarier than a haunted house. I don't want to go near it. My belongings? Just a duffel bag and a huge suitcase for overseas trips. I'd like to pat myself on the back for living so minimally. For the time being, I decided to stay at my company. My colleagues laughingly said, "We always knew something like this would happen to you, boss, ha ha ha." But my real revenge starts now. I'm not so kind to keep paying a mortgage on a house where people I despise live. To begin with, there's no reason to pay Mikey any compensation. That's right, the house is in my name. Mikey's salary wasn't enough to get a mortgage approved, so it ended up being under my name. So technically, I'm the owner. I don't need that house anymore. To avoid any future complications, I contacted a lawyer. Marital assets are split 50-50. Of course, the house will be sold. It's been well maintained and is still considered new. The property was acquired cheaply, so the difference between the mortgage and the selling price was a life lesson I could afford. I was thrilled it sold quickly at the price I wanted. And that naive mother and son duo, they believed they could continue living there. It seems his mom just found out the house was in my name after their divorce. Mikey had lied about his salary, so it's not surprising she thought that. The moment they found out about the house sale, they were horrified. I got a call from mother-in-law. "Is it fun making us suffer? I'll forgive you, so cancel the sale now. Mikey's breakdown and inability to work is on you," mother-in-law shouted. I replied, "Forgive me? Sorry, but no matter what you offer, I refuse. Have you ever met someone paying a mortgage for a house they don't live in? I haven't met such a foolishly kind person. We're strangers now." She shot back. I'll storm into your office right now and spread the truth about what a monster you are. Reputation damage is terrifying, you know. Feel free to do that. I'm quite busy now, I said, hanging up. I immediately reported the threat to my company's legal counsel. The lawyer arrived promptly. However, despite the threats, Mikey never showed up at my workplace, just as I had expected. It seems Mikey inherited his big mouth from his mother. I provided the lawyer with recordings of my conversations during the divorce and the recent call. The lawyer believes it's more than enough evidence to claim damages. Due to my work, I've developed a habit of recording conversations. Now, let's delve into the financial situation of mother-in-law and Mikey. Mother-in-law has never held a job for long, at most 6 months. Her arrogance always gets in the way, so she virtually has no savings. Their current home is a subsidized housing unit. The rent's only $200 a month, reflecting its modest quality. It seems mother-in-law dreamt of leaving that simple life to live in our house. It's always crucial to live within one's means. In the end, mother-in-law's schemes crumbled. To make matters worse, Mikey, now without a home, ended up moving into that subsidized apartment. And karma seemed to catch up with the duo for their wicked ways. To top it all, the company Mikey worked for went bankrupt. Mikey became unemployed. Moreover, the rent for their subsidized housing reportedly goes up with more occupants. In panic, the two apparently complained to the local authorities, but there's no bending rules for individual grievances. Predictably, the duo, filled with pride, faced challenges while job hunting. They sought high-paying jobs, but without experience, it was a stretch. With no savings to start with, Mikey resorted to day labor and part-time work. And with my legal actions, the mother-son duo became utterly demoralized. They borrowed money from relatives and astonishingly managed to pay the damages in a lump sum. Even the lawyer was taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. I couldn't stay at the office forever. Being at the company keeps me constantly in battle mode. I crave a place where I can truly relax. Come to think of it, I haven't felt relaxed at home recently either. I took the plunge and bought an apartment near the office. After my experience with a house, I decided against it. Living alone, I'm looking for a place with top-notch security. Being single and working hard, it's challenging to connect with neighbors. But I found an apartment that fits all my demanding criteria perfectly. You know, I'm the kind of person who always finds a silver lining. Inspired by recent events, I developed a romance simulation game for adults. It became a massive hit, turning into the company's flagship game. I really do love my job. For now, I'm more passionate about work than romance.